All right. It seems like I just did this because we have a 9-hole cup this week. So I got a video up. If you go into YouTube, let's go into YouTube. You go into videos. Let's go into the channel here. So we go to playlist stuff. There is a playlist on there for the Easter 9-hole cup rookie walkthrough. I got 13 videos in there. I've added a couple videos where I took the shot from two different sides. So I have the entire Southern Pines 9-hole cup, and then I added in an East Coast rookie weekend round, hole number 6, and then another East Coast opening round, hole number 7, for what's hole number 8 in this tournament, so that we can see it. But I put in the walkthrough for that. But now we got a real tournament that they announced. So the new tournament's going to be the Ventura Open, and the Ventura Open is going to follow the Santa Ventura holes, hole for hole. So you can go into Golf Clash notebook, and you can go into Santa Ventura, and you can go through all the holes that are in there. So I put together a playlist for the Ventura Open, and I've got 8 videos in here. I don't have a video of hole number 1 that's standalone. I've got it several places in my collection, but I don't have it like as a standalone hole, so I'll try and get it. But I have holes 2 through 9 that are from other tournaments, and got some pretty good examples in here of what the shots look like coming in. And so let's go take a look at Santa Ventura. If you're not a subscriber and you like the content, hit subscribe down there at the bottom. We're trying to get my channel to 1,000 viewers. That's a big number for a little guy like me. All right, hole number 1 of Santa Ventura. These holes have been in the game for a long time. There's some of these holes that when Santa Ventura first came out, it wasn't a full 9 holes. There was only like 4 or 5 holes in it, and then they came out at a later date and added on and made it a full 9-hole section. So there's some of the holes that are newer. I mean, they're still old holes at this point, but weren't in the original set. This is one of the original holes that was in the game. And so this is a Tour 2. You got to remember these holes. Let me get my pen up. Hold on. Let me get my pen. I can't even work without my pen. Come on, you guys know that. And if I don't have a pen, I mean, we're in big trouble. So this hole has been in Tour 2 since the game started. So this is a Tour 2 hole. So think back on the days when you were in Tour 2 before you upgraded your clubs, and you had very little. You had an extra mile 2 or an extra mile 3, or, you were down there with really low stuff. So this hole takes 2.5 topspin max. And if you set yourself up, you bring out a bigger ball, bring out like a Titan, the king of balls, or a kingmaker is even better, because we're cutting the wind off on both, and we want to have the lowest wind we can possibly have on the shot going in. You land out in this area right here, and you put on max curl, half curl, whatever, and the ball is going to terminate right up here at the top. And the whole goal is to be out here in the fairway at the top, and that'll put you somewhere between, depending on how close you can get up to the top, you'll be somewhere between minimum and mid short iron, max on a bad drive. But you're going to end up in your short iron, and I think there is a little bit of a wind adjustment we do here, but like in one-on-one play, I just do a normal adjustment, but we'll have to work that out as the week goes on. But you got a serious look at eagle here on hole number 1. So on hole number 1, while it's a -1 hole, this is a hole that you can pick one up on. So I'm going to put on my notes that this is a -1 hole with an eagle shot. Okay, so we can try and figure out what our minimum score should be. All right, hole number 2. Okay, this hole right here, I actually just shot a video here not too long ago where I was playing Dale Appleby. I think it was last week. There's a video just here in like the last couple of weeks where I played one-on-one friendlies with Dale Appleby. And we were playing tour number 2. And we were playing tour 2 because I just got my Hornet to level 9. And so the ring adjustments changed. It finally became a 100% accurate club. So the rings mile per hour have changed. And so I wanted to go practice with it. And Tour 2 is a great place because there's a lot of these holes that are long iron holes. or short iron holes. And so we were down here, and I have several videos of this hole where I came at it, I believe with the sniper is what we're coming at it with, where I got like, I think I took this shot 4 times in that video, and I got 2 hole-in-ones, and the other 2 times I was like 0.5 off the cup. So I mean, this hole right here is very doable. I play with my sniper off of this transitional surface down here between the rough and the fairway. I play 5 miles per hour off. So on that club, it's a 1 mile per hour per ring. So I play 5 rings off. But if I got on this hole and I had a club that wasn't 5, 1 per ring, and it was 2 per ring, let's say, I'd be like 2.5 rings off that transitional surface. But I leave myself a little bit of room here, and it rolls up to the cup. So the green, like when you're facing the green, everything's going uphill and the cup is right here. And I set up a couple of the little grass cuts, the little squares that are on the cut. I set up a couple rows over, and it takes we got to remember, this is a Tour 2 hole. Okay. And what happens in Tour 2? When you came through Tour 2, you had very little topspin, very little backspin on your clubs. So this takes very little backspin, like just a little teeny bit, or maybe just a little teeny bit of topspin. I think it takes a little teeny bit of backspin. But these holes down here, you got to watch out, especially if you've been playing higher tours. These holes down here, you didn't have good clubs when you came through here. So these holes, you don't have to have tons of movement on the ball in order for the ball to go where you want it to. Let's erase that. Hole number 3. Hole number 3. All right. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can play this hole. And this hole is completely changed from its original configuration. Originally, there was trees all the way out to the second cut of the rough. And the second cut of the rough all the way around was out of bounds. So if you hit into the second cut, you were out of bounds. And that's how big the fairway used to be. Now you can hit pretty much anywhere that you can see. You can hit out there and you're still in bounds. And they took all these trees off of this corner. But I still see people get caught up out here in the corner because they're trying to go around it. Typically I play this where I just lay it up right here. I don't try and get too far around the corner. Like in one-on-one play, I literally just lay it up right here, and I'm in my wood range, and I take my wood at it. Anywhere you're on this line right here, you're in good shape. So ideally you want to be like somewhere out in this area on the line going to the cup. So if you're out here or if you're on the other side, the only way that you can really get up there close is there is a max overpower hook shot you can do. And I'll have to find the spot. It's been so long since I took the max overpower hook shot. I'll have to find a spot out here, but it's somewhere along the transition between the second cut of the rough and the third cut of the rough. Somewhere out here by these trees is the mark. And I believe I was doing it with either a Titan or a Kingmaker, or I take that back. I was doing it with a 5 power ball. And if you can find the mark out here, there is a way for you to swing it around so that your first bounce is here and you're trying to get over. Your only impediment is this little rough area. You have to get your bounces right so that your first bounce is here, your second bounce is here, and then you bounce over it, and then your third bounce, and then you dribble up towards the cup, and you can get up there. In most cases, I found myself in front. Like I missed the shot and I ended up short up here in front. And you have from that area down there, you have, I believe it's a long iron. If you can get in front of that sand, then you're in your short iron to your wedge range. But there is a max overpower hook shot that you can do on this hole to try and get up in there. And it's worth looking at because even if you mess it up and you're out in this area here, you can still get on if you've got a Nirvana in your bag. If you don't have a Nirvana, I would highly recommend just doing the layup shot, because you can end up right out here in the middle with a QB, no big deal, couple top spin, hit it perfect, hit it great to the left or the right, it won't matter, it'll end up out here, and then you've got a wood coming in. Whatever wood you have the best accuracy and ball guide first. Hole number 4. Hole number 4, da-da-da-da. All right, I show a video in the play set on this hole. So in one-on-one play, I always play the black line in one-on-one play. And I'm usually what I try and do on this hole is it doesn't really matter what club I'm in. I try and stay 3 rings off of this transitional surface. So like sometimes I get on this hole and I'm in my Guardian, it's 1.2 per ring. I'm 3 rings off that transitional surface. When I'm with my sniper, I'm usually trying to be like more towards maybe 4 rings off, but you can still do the 3. I just want to give myself some separation on this. And then I have no idea what I put on it. What I do is I dial it to the cup from that spot. And I want to leave my ball guide just a little teeny bit short of the cup because it does roll out. And I just dial it up to the cup, and I believe on this hole, I was doing a 10% wind adjustment and just go up there for it. This to me is a low percentage par 3, taking the black line shot. The white line is where you're bouncing in front of the sand and trying to get over the top of that hill. And I am not a fan of that at all. You will never see me demo that shot. There's also another line that you could take where you come over to this side right here and try and bring it up. And I'm not a fan of that side either. It doesn't lend itself to doing that side. You can, and I've seen people do it successfully, but it's not my cup of tea. So there's another shot that's not on here, and it's the shot that I actually take. And what I do is I bring a Kingmaker, and I bring a Kingmaker and a Saturn, and with the red line issue, let me scroll in on it a little so we can see the green. So if you bring a Kingmaker and a Saturn, your red line, and traditionally when we play this in tournaments, they give us some kind of a headwind. So we're having to push up against it. So your red line is like right here with that Kingmaker and your Saturn, and your ball guide's right here. So you can work out about 2 miles per hour, maybe 3 miles per hour of wind before you hit your red line. And I do a backspin shot at it. And in the video, pause the video when you get, like, here's the cup. Pause the video when you see me set up back here. And I have to go back and watch the video and really pay attention to what the deal is. But I'm like 2 squares up and to the right is where I have my second bounce. And if you hit that spot and you take the wind out, and I think I was doing a 10% wind adjustment, and you take the wind out, the roll back down the hill, because it's on a slope that's going in this direction, the roll back that's on that hill will pull it back towards the cup. And I've hit like 1 hole in one in every tournament on this hole, at least 1 hole in one using that shot. And I don't know that I could count the hole in ones that I've hit on the black line coming into this cup on one hand in the 200 or 300 times I've played this hole. So I haven't hit very many on the black line. It's one of those things where you're just kind of coming into it, and you could get lucky and get it. But this shot with the backspin shot, but it takes a Kingmaker, or you'd have to bring out a 4-power ball depending on your club length. But you need to club with lots of backspin. I'm going to use either a Saturn, or if you've got a level 6 or higher Grim Reaper, the Grim Reaper's probably got more backspin. That's how I'm going to play that hole. But you won't, that shot right there is actually, in my opinion, is like the best way to go at hole in one. And you're not going to see a lot of people taking that shot, but you'll have an opportunity to get up there. Here's where you can go wrong on that shot. That was what can go right. Let me talk to you about what goes wrong. What can go wrong on this shot is you have to be very, very careful of where you set your ball, because you're going to be down on this area down here, actually, where you're on that transition between the fringe and the fringe and the green. And so when you're on this side right here where this rough is and where this fairway area is and the fringe, you're on a hill. I mean, here's the green, and then it drops off and goes into the sand. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to hit down here on the hill. Because if you hit down here on the hill, it's going to want to go straight up. And if you end up too close to the cup, when it sucks it back down, you take the risk of ending up way down low on this green. You need to make sure that your first bounce is up here on the flat. And so you'll have to be very cognizant of the wind, because if you've only got like 2 rings or 2.5 rings to pull out wind, and you got a 4 wind, you won't be able to do that shot if we have headwind. You won't be able to do that shot unless you bring out a 4-power ball. Because you can't afford to be back here on this hill face. You want to be up here on the flat. So you really want to start as close to being on the green as possible, and don't pull yourself down that hillside. If you start to pull it back and you see that the ball guide all of a sudden is taking like the loop is really big for how high that bounce is going to be, you need to be forward of that. Otherwise you could end up rolling back down and end up in big trouble. So you have to set that shot up right. Otherwise you'll get bit. All right, hole number 5. Hole number 5. Da 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 da. All right. I show in the videos, in the playlist videos, me taking this with a sniper because I think a lot of people will be more comfortable taking it with the sniper. And I think what the deal is that once again, this is a low level hole, so it doesn't take a lot. So if you've got any driver, a more accurate driver works better, like a QB, because if we bring out a big ball and we need a big ball for the second shot, if we bring out a big ball with a QB, we're going to be right here on the center of this island. We take the wind out, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to skirt. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. So what you're trying to do on that drive is you're trying to come out from this area right here, and you're trying to skirt. This is rough. This is fairway. And here's the transitional line between them. Well, here, I'll get that right. Here's the transitional line between them. And you're trying to get it from here, and you're trying to get it to roll out in this direction. Now, if you go out too far, anywhere like along the side right here, it's not a big deal, but here's the problem. It's these trees. These trees in the original configuration on this hole, these trees weren't here. Or they were there and they weren't in play. I don't think they were there. Or they might have been there and they weren't in play. But if you hit too far out here, on your second shot, you're trying to land, I try and land 3 rings off this transitional surface between the rough and the fairway. So you're trying to land out here, and if you draw a line and you're out here, these trees are in the way. So when you go to set it up out here, it's not a problem. It's just that you can't see your ball guide because your ball guide's held in the trees. So if you have a setup shot here, it won't matter whether you're behind the trees. So when people have problems here is when they don't know what their shot should be. So where you should be is right out here. And you're going to set up in exactly the same spot. You're on the same arc. Okay, so distance-wise, this side right here is going to take a little bit more curl to bring it this way than this side right here. But you're on the same arc. So if you set up 3 rings off this transitional surface, and with a sniper, where's I at? I wrote that number down. QB sniper, it's 2.5, it's 2.5 topspin, max. And then maximum right hand side spin, and about a 1/3 curl. And the ball will come from here and go up towards the hole. And so if you're in this spot right here, how should you set it up? You pull it out there till you're at your max red line. You won't be able to see your ball guide because it's interfered by the trees. What's up, baby? Oh, okay. You want me to take him? Okay. So if you're behind the trees where you can't see your ball guide, all you have to do is just pull yourself out to your red line, put on the 2.5 topspin, maximum right hand side spin, and you'll need to do a little bit more curl from this side to bring yourself around the trees. So you'll have to probably go like half the amount of curl that you have, and you'll just walk around the trees. The ball curl is not representing your ball guide, so the ball guide's telling you the truth. The ball guide's telling you that your ball is going to go through those trees, but you know something that your ball guide doesn't know, that you're going to put curl on it and you're going to bring it around like this. And so it doesn't matter whether you can see your ball guide or not. You know what the setup is. You're 3 rings off this transitional surface, no more than 2.5 topspin, maximum right hand side spin, and you take the shot. And you don't have to do any overpower if you got a sniper. You don't have to do any overpower from the rookie tees. Like if you're playing this from the pro tees, the second shot's a little more difficult, but it's pretty straightforward. Here's the thing about the green. Let's talk about this green. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is an original hole to the game. This is one of the original holes to the game. I actually learned how to use the topspin on a rapier, on a Firefly at the time, on this hole. So here's one of the things about this green is this is an original green to the game. And so there's a shelf right here, and this is flat, and then it rolls downhill. And if you're up here on the flat and you just barely get onto this green, this isn't like the newer greens. On newer greens from holes that have been created here, especially in the last year and a half, there's no place on the green that you can't get in the cup with a max overpower putt. Like there may be spots where you're like, hey, I'm not that far away, and all of a sudden I'm in power. But no matter where you're at on the green, you have the opportunity to at least get to the hole. This is not like that. This is an old hole. You're up here, you won't have a putt. You'll have a putt going down the hill, but you will not, no matter how much you overpower it, you will not be able to get the ball to get to the cup. And so you do not want to fail on this on the front. When the ball comes down through here, it is going to look like it's going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's going downhill, down towards the cup when it comes off of this flat. But this is one of those holes like in the real world where the greenskeeper cut the grass against the green. And so as the ball is rolling down towards the cup, it's amazing how fast the ball slows down. So it'll look like you're going 1,000 miles an hour, but it will slow down. And if you end up on the backside, it's not a big deal. This is one of the things about the older fairways is these older greens is they're really big. It will roll off. If you have enough speed, you could roll off into the fringe on the backside. And so, but this hole right here is a very low Albie shot because you have a blind Albie coming into it. Really, the only way you're going to shoot this shot is with some kind of, you typically have to put some type of side spin on it, or excuse me, curl. And curl is a big variable that's going to make it so that it's hard to replicate. Now, what you can do when you're setting this shot up, what you can do here is when you come out into this area and instead of being 3 rings off, so you're here and then you're trying to curl it to bring it in, you could set up more out in the middle where you're trying to go straight. But what you're doing here is you're opening yourself up late in a run to get caught up in the sand. I want to get as far away from these traps as possible because I recognize that this is not a high percentage Albie hole. And I have hit Albies here, but it's not a high percentage. That my goal is just to get up there by the green, get my putt, get my eagle, and move the hell on and not get caught up here in the top in this rough. All right, what's our next hole? What's our next one? Hole number 6, Santa Ventura. Oh my gosh. All right. There are 3 ways to go at this, and I want to talk about the black way first. So if you hit up to the black line, you're going to give yourself, it's not bad. You'll have to take this shot 1 or 2 times to figure out like how much topspin, how much maneuver you need on the ball. I would bring a 100% accurate club and your QB, your rock, so that you could lay it up in a consistent spot out here. You have very little chance that you're going to get off trajectory and then come up to it. The deal is it's a very tough pitch from down here. It's not just the greens like this. Here's the green and here's the flagpole, and it is like way downhill like this. So when you hit from out here and you're coming towards the cup, it's hard to stay straight because there's so much movement. So you'll have to come at it at an angle like this. And that means that as the ball slows down, as it's getting towards the cup, it's being pulled by gravity, and you'll tend to miss on the inside. You'll tend to miss it on the right-hand side where it'll drop. And so when you're out here doing this pitch from here coming in, you're not just having to deal with wind, you're having to deal with the drop on the course. And it's a very difficult, depending on where you land out here, on how much of this you have to engage. To me, I have a better shot if I was in the rough right here and all I have to do is hit perfect, okay, than I do out here. So for me, I see this as being, personally, I see it being like the lowest percentage way to go, even though you got a great shot coming in every time. You can hit through the trees. And at least for 2 of the tournaments that this hole's been in, let's see how many tournaments that this hole's been in. At least 2 of these tournaments, and it's been in 4 tournaments, at least 2 of them, maybe 3. Here's the shot that I did. I literally took my extra mile in a big ass ball and I went through the trees, and 90% of the time I ended up on the rough, and about 30% of the time I hit it perfect and it went in the hole. And the other 10% of the time I ended up on the fairway or on the green and I made those. So about maybe overall, maybe about 35% of the time I caught this shot. So it was 1 out of 3 ain't bad, right? So in a tournament, you may catch it once, maybe twice in a tournament. But that shot started pissing me off, so I went to the white line. I actually went to the blue line. I don't know the white line if you're from farther back tees, maybe where you're bouncing from here and then bouncing on here and then coming over. But the blue line where you're starting off on that pad. So let's scroll down in here a little. So when you're on this pad, not sure which way the wind's blowing. The last time I think we had wind that was blowing like maybe from this direction or somewhere from this side. I'm not sure if it was a little tail or a little headwind. Big ball, extra mile, starting off pretty much where this dot of the white line is. And getting your ball guide, because of the angle that you're at, because you're coming in out like this, your ball guide's going to be facing out here. And so about right here, you're going to be terminating into the sand. And if you think about your arc, you know, like this is your club arc from this point. So this distance right here is the same as this distance, and this is the arc. You can see right about here in the arc, you're actually on the fairway. You're on the rough. You're right on the other side of the sand. The sand's not as deep on the right as it is on the left. So your ball guide's pointing you out into this direction. And you want your ball guide, you want your ball guide so that if you imagine your arc where it's terminating into the sand, if you pulled it over to the right on the arc and got it to this point right here, you would be on the fairway or the rough. That's where I want the shot set up. And then I'm going to put curl on it so that instead of the ball going straight like the ball guide's showing, I'm going to be coming in at an angle like this, and I'm trying to cut that distance so that I terminate right here. And I'm swinging that ball around on the arc and trying to clip that little teeny bit of fairway rough right there and just dribble out onto the green. And this is the second hole. I found out going through the videos, and I have a video somewhere in one of the things. I couldn't find it, but I didn't spend a lot of time looking. But this is the second hole that I actually got a hole-in-one on, the second par 4. I thought it was several other holes, but it was actually this one. And you can, so I mean, there is a hole-in-one shot, but it's grim. Just getting up there and getting your eagle is the key. But you can get an eagle on this hole in one. So this is definitely a hole when we mark down stuff here. This is -1. This is -2. Hole number 3, this one right here. This is hole number. We definitely have a shot. Definitely have a shot. All right, let's go look. What hole are we on here? We're on hole 6. I want to write down these holes. So we have a shot. This is a -1 hole, but we have a -2 serious shot. That par 5 right there, that was a -2 with a serious shot. That's a -1 with a serious shot. So far we're on the track for a 12. Okay, this par 3 right here. All right, I'm going to be absolutely dead honest with you. I play this hole to get a birdie. And I give myself an outside look at a hole-in-one, but I couldn't care about the hole-in-one. I play this hole for birdie. So you guys can decide on your game how aggressive you want to get. And so let's look at the hole first so you can understand. If you're unfamiliar with this hole, you can understand, like, we're getting closer. You can see the terrain drop, and there's a ridge, there's a drop-off right here. And here's the flagpole right here. So if you come in from this angle and you breeze past the flagpole even just a little bit, you're on the drop. And once you hit this drop, it'll roll down and it's cupped. Like right here, you can see in the thing, right here is the low spot. And so it'll tend to want to get down into this area. And if it's got any kind of speed on it and it rolls past that, this is uphill. And there's a little teeny lip. And it's very uncommon for you to roll down here and end up on the fringe. In almost all cases, you roll down here and you roll up the little hill, and then you end up terminating before you get to the fringe. And you cannot make the putt from anywhere on this side. If you're anywhere down here on this side, you cannot make that putt going back up the hill. It's not just a max overpower shot. It's a max overpower shot you can't make because you're going up that hill. And so you don't want to be anywhere on that bottom side. So my shot, my normal one-on-one shot here is that I take this fairway, and I center I'm going to be right dead center in the middle. And I'm either usually, like in pro, I'm in between the shadows, but in rookie, I'm like right on this front shadow. And I want to put on about 4.5 backspin. And I usually put on just a little bit of left-hand side spin so that the ball comes in and it terminates about right here. And I just stay, because it's flat over here. So you can change that right-hand side spin, and you can start inking up the left-hand side spin to try and swing yourself over to the cup. But you'll have to decide how much risk you want to take on this hole. Because for me, in my game, the whole deal is the whole score is predicated on you getting the minimum score and not epic failing on any hole. And this is a hole that by trying to get a little greedy, you can epic fail. And I'm not interested in epic failing. Because the deal is if you set it up so that you could get a hole in one and you hit it great to the left, you take a big risk that now all of a sudden you're going to roll off the back. And I don't hit enough perfect shots coming in on shots like this, that this is a shot that doesn't lend itself to my game. I've made hole-in-ones on this hole, but it's not, I don't usually try and get too aggressive on it. I want to get my birdie and move the hell on, because there's a bunch of holes that I can make a shot up on, or not make a shot up, but get a shot up. So for me, this is definitely a birdie hole. You have a hole-in-one shot there. Hey, by the way, if I'm playing this hole in one-on-one and I have any kind of wind, here's the line. I have any kind of wind that's tailwind, any kind of tailwind. I hit this just a straight up adjustment. And I'm sure that we'll probably use some kind of an adjustment in the tournament, maybe like a 10% or some kind of an adjustment. But if I have any kind of headwind, I do a 30% adjustment. And if I have straight up headwind, I do a 40% adjustment. And I do the same shot. And I found that if you're playing one-on-one, and you have any kind of headwind and you do these adjustments, you'll end up in exactly the same spot. But if you don't do these adjustments, you'll clip the rough here and you'll just dribble on, or you'll get caught up in the rough and you'll be like 10 yards away. Just a little one-on-one stuff there. All right, hole number 8. Hole number 8. Da, 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 da. Okay, there's really 2 ways to play this hole from rookie. And I demo, I think the way that I demo, and I'm going to work on this shot this week because I play this 2 different ways. Okay, let's talk about the blue ring first. So the blue way out here, you can bring a rock. A rock works really good. If you're using a rock, so when I'm using my rock, if you bring out a big ball, your red line stuff is going to be like out in this area. And I usually set myself up like 6 rings off of this transitional surface. And with max curl, and you don't even have to put on but like a couple top spin, you can, and it's a setup shot. So you'll have to practice it with your quarterback or your rock to find out how many rings to be off. But you go out there and you move 5, 6 rings off, max curl, couple top spin, max left-hand side spin, and the ball will curl and come right out here, and you'll be in between these 2 shadows. You'll be somewhere out in this area. And so if you're in between those 2 shadows, this tree is in play. So you have 2 ways that you can come at it. You can bring a guardian and you can go straight at it, because the guardian's got more rod distance. Your red line will be up into this area so that you can go straight at it with backspin, side spin, curl. And you do a max backspin, side spin, curl shot. And what it'll do is it'll put you right up. It'll put you right up on the green. And then the other way that you can do it is you can take that same exact shot where you're in between these shadows, and you can bring a sniper and you can do a backspin, side spin, curl shot. But you can do it, you're coming around. So with the guardian, you're doing a backspin, side spin shot, no curl because this tree's in the way. But if you want to use max curl, you can, but you have to use max curl so that you can get on the outside of the tree. Or you can do a sniper. A sniper works better going around the tree than it does going in front, and a guardian works better going in front than it does going around. And you can get an eagle. You can get a birdie. This is a birdie hole. It's a par 4 it's a birdie hole, and it's a tough eagle, and it is a hard birdie. There's going to be about, I'm gonna say a huge number. I'm gonna say 30% of the people that play this hole are going to get par. And there's probably going to be a good 60% that play it that get birdie. And there's going to be less than 10% that are going to get an eagle. And that number may be 5%. This isn't a very eagleable hole. Okay, so we can get ahead of 30% of our competition in every 9 holes right there just by getting a birdie on this hole every time. So if you go to the left, once you figure out this shot right here, how many rings off to be, max curl, quarterback, or rock, those are the best clubs to use. You don't have to get all the way down here like a lot of people are doing. Just lay it up right here up to the front. This is an easy birdie. If you're going for the eagle, the best way to do it is to go on the white line. Let's go back over here. So you're coming out into this area, and you can bring, if you bring a kingmaker and a QB, you can get your red line so that your red line's in front, so that your QB actually engages over here. and you don't have to do the bounce over, so that you can start off at the top and basically you're just laying it up here. You're actually cutting some off of it. You're not having to put max stuff on it. And you'll have to know what that number is. Because if it's like 2 topspin, then it is 2 topspin. Otherwise, you'll roll off the front. But if you roll off the front, you can make it from here if you have good recovery clubs. So if you have a Nirvana, you can make it from here. But once you're into this spot, you have 3 different ways that you can come at it. You can come at it by bouncing it off the island and then bouncing it over. There's a rough bump that you can do, and there is a wind adjustment down here that we have to get right. And I don't know what that number is. I've never gotten it right. It's a super sensitive rough bump, and if you hit it right, you've got a really good shot at it. So you can actually go from here right to the rough and do a full rough bump, or you can do from here, bounce over to the clear, or you can go from here and bounce onto the rough and do it over, or you can bring a big backspin club and try and stick it on the cup, which is probably the worst of the whole bunch, because the cup is so close to the front of the green that you may not have enough backspin to actually get it up there. You're basically just going for eagle, which defeats the purpose of coming over to this side. There is another shot that you can do, and I've seen it, and I've seen it done, and I've done it myself. What was the first tournament that this was in? Hollywood tournament. I think the Hollywood tournament was probably the first tournament that this was ever in. Maybe the Football Fever tournament. One of those tournaments I played, and I don't think I have either one of those on video. I played a shot on this where I came with a power 5 ball and I did a max overpower shot, and I tried to land into this area here and bring it over, and I ended up all the way up at the front. It's hard to keep yourself on this end of the run in the fairway and not off over here in the rough. But if you can get up there, then you have a short shot in. And one of the few times that I made an eagle on this in a tournament, I actually got all the way up there and was able to sink that shot. And I think I was in short iron range. So there is a max overpower shot you can do here with power 5 to get you way up there. But look at this. Look at all of the stuff that's out here. When we talk risk versus reward, this is a hole that's going to eat a lot of people's lunch. And so we want to take advantage of that. And you can take advantage of that by just being consistent and going out there and not getting anything worse than a birdie. So whatever shot you do here, I would recommend that we do something that's absolutely repeatable and doesn't take any overpower. Because we want to be consistent on this hole. Because the inconsistency on this hole will kick your butt, because there's too many places you can be out of bounds, or too many places that you can be in big, big trouble. Hole number 9. I think I took longer at the end of the video than I did at the beginning. Hole number 9. Oh, I love this hole too. This hole right here. All right. In my mind, there's only 2 ways that we play this hole. You're either taking, and I'm not even going to look at these lines. You pick a line right in here you want a club that has lots of curl. So like an Apocalypse or a Rock or a QB. And you come down in here, and I'm 3 rings off of, there's a rough line in here, and I want to be 3 rings off of that transitional line. I take out the wind. I'm at my red line, take out the wind. If the wind is forward moving wind, you move yourself forward enough so that when you get to the point, you can take the wind out, max curl, no overpower, and just walk yourself, literally like walk yourself around, and you end up somewhere right out in here. And from here, you can bring any wood that hits like 170, and that'll put your red line somewhere up in this neighborhood here. And then you've got to maneuver around. You got to make this little S curve. It's best to just stay on the track. And when you come into the green, let's erase that. I'll zoom in on it. When you come into the green down here from that spot, your first bounce is going to be somewhere out in this area. And when you come in, and you're coming in from this direction, so your ball's wanting to go here, let it go out there. Don't worry about trying to change the maneuver and try and get the S. The whole deal on this is a low percentage Alvey. And from the position that you're in, you can press the issue, or you can just come up here and get your first bounce here and your second bounce here, and then you're over and you're on the green and you make your putt and you get the hell out of here. Don't press the issue, because if you get caught up anywhere over on this side right here, you're going to end up in this sand. And you don't want to do that. It's just better to just weave yourself up there, get on the green, get your eagle, and move along. The other way that you can go at this, let's erase all that. Okay. Hit the wrong button. The other way that you can go at this is I use, when this hole originally came out, it was the World Cup. And the World Cup, there was a World Cup ball that came out that had from different countries. I bought some Brazil and Wales balls, and they are 2 wind, 3 side spin, 3 power. And the deal is that you can get this done with 3 power, but you absolutely have to have 3 side spin. But a Kingmaker, you're using the wind, and a Kingmaker cuts the wind down. That difference between 2 and 3 cuts the wind down so that on the drive, it makes the drive less possible. But I still want a ball that has a couple wind for my shot going into the cup. So this World Cup ball fit the bill. And it came out when the first time, this is one of the newer holes from Santa Ventura. And the first time we ever played this hole, this ball came out. And so really, I have some of these balls still from back then when this hole first came out. And I only play those balls on this hole. So I'm going to be playing a 2-3-3 ball, but you could play a 2-3-4 ball or a 3-3-4 ball. This would be a great hole for a Kingmaker X. And a Kingmaker X wasn't out when this hole originally came out. And if I do switch to a different ball, a Kingmaker X is actually fits the bill. It's got 4 power, gives me a little bit better shot on the drive, because typically in the tournaments, they give us wind that's blowing in this direction. It's blowing in some type of a forward moving direction. And you can come from the tee box over the top of these trees with a 3 power ball, and your ball guide's right here. If you leave the wind in to push you out, you have a clear shot over the trees. And so your ball guide's going off in this direction right here. So you're trying to get from your first bounce out here, you're trying to cover this gap. And so if you've got an extra mile 8, it'll be easier, but you can get it done with an extra mile 7, extra mile 6. An extra mile 7 works better than a 6 because it has more curl. If you end up, a lot of times you'll end up over here where if you look to the left, there's fairway all the way across. I mean, you got tons of fairway. In front of you, behind you, next to you, every place to the left has got fairway. But you're out here in the rough. If you have a Nirvana or an Amazon, you can easily get on into and get your eagle and move on. Okay. If you end up out in the rough out here and you don't bridge the gap, if you have a Nirvana in your bag, you can easily get on. Okay. If you don't have a Nirvana in your bag, you need to take the shot where you'll just lay up down here and come in with your sniper or your big dog. Those work better than a Guardian because a Guardian doesn't have quite enough topspin. But I'm going to take the shot where I'm trying to go over the trees. So my shot's going to look like this. I'm trying to come over the trees, and I'm trying to come out into this area, and I'm trying to get one bounce here, and I'm trying to bridge this entire thing between the first bounce and the second bounce, and my second bounce out here, and then I dribble out, and I end up somewhere out in this area right here. That's my goal. The deal is that you worked really hard for a shot that now, if you're out in this area, you've moved yourself past the point where you can come through here where you've just got nice fairway all the way to the green. You got a little bit of rough patch down here at the bottom. When you're out in this area, you now have to contend with the sand, and you've also got to contend with these trees. So if you don't hit it, you could get out into this area, and if you're at such an angle that you could be literally right behind a tree trying to get to the cup. So there's a lot of the shots from out here, you can't put any curl on them. You got to hit them straight. And you need a club because of how the green is set up. The green looks like this. So the green looks like a peanut. Let's get the shape right here. It looks like this, right? And so like right here where the sand is like right in this area, bad example, but it drops off and it's like this. And then it drops down like this to the cup, and the cup is right here. And then this on the other line here, this stuff is pretty flat. So when you're coming up on the sand side and you're getting over the hill and you're trying to land in here, it is super steep down to the cup. So if you're trying to backspin it up, you've got to do it in a very short period of time, and you need a lot of backspin. And a Saturn, while it has 92 backspin when it gets maxed out, is a lot. It's not enough. So your actual best shot to do here is a dunk when you're coming in to try and do the backspin. But with a Saturn, in order to do the dunk, you don't have quite enough backspin. It's marginal. If you miss the dunk too far forward, you could actually end up not catching the green and end up in the sand on the other side, end up back over here. So it's really tight. But if you've got a level 6 Grim Reaper, you have 100% backspin in a long iron. and that club will be able to get it done. And it's more accurate than your Saturn. And so you can do the dunk. So on this particular hole, I'm going to switch up my bag. I'm going to play my drive. Depending on the wind, I'm either going to bring a Kingmaker X. I'm going to bring one of those World Cup balls, one of the two. And the goal is to get out into this area right here, and I'm going to get in my Grim Reaper range. If you don't have a Grim Reaper, then Saturn. That's the club. And I'm going to actually try and do the dunk to try and get my Albie with a dunk and see what the Grim Reaper looks like as far as backspin. But I think what I'm trying to do is do the dunk. If I miss this shot and I'm anywhere down in here, whether it's in the rough or just barely on it down here, then I'm going to do the shot going straight at it coming up this way. I'm only going to do that shot if I'm in the perfect spot out here behind those trees on the sand side. Other than that, I'm just going to get up there. I'm still going to see what my look is, but understand that this is a very low percentage Albie hole. And this hole right here will eat a bunch of people's lunch. A bunch of people's lunch. So that's good for us. So this also is this hole right here is a -2 hole. Let me go look at hole number 8 one more time. Let's go through these. This is a -1 hole. So we're looking at -12 is what we want for our minimum score here. And we have lots of opportunities. So just real quick, got a great opportunity for eagle. There's one that we can pick up. And you can pick that up. It doesn't matter what level clubs you have. If you can use this with a Kingmaker or a Kingfisher. Kingfisher, if you got low level clubs, this is going to be all day a Kingfisher. Really accurate, really good ball guide. There's one that we can pick up. There's 2 that we can pick up. There's 3 that we can pick up. And those 3 are actually, we need to pick something up there. Here is another one that we can pick up if you use that Kingmaker backspin shot. This one right here is low percentage. I mean, if you pick this up, it would be just a wild card. Like it would be like total luck. So we got 4 out of 5 so far that we could pick one up. This one right here, we can pick up. We can get on in one, and it is pick upable. Okay, there's 5 that we can pick up. This one right here, in my opinion, I'm not trying to pick one up. I'm giving up on this hole because this is a hole that can ruin your round. And it's not worth ruining my round to try and get. I want to be close, but I'm not going to get aggressive on this hole. So I still got 5 out of 7. Hole number 8. We do not have a shot. I mean, there is a shot at eagle here, but this is another low percentage hole. So this is one of those wild cards. If you get one here, it's like, wow, you got one here. So I'm still at 5 out of 8. And this one here is a low percentage. So we have 5 holes that we really could pick a shot up on that are like legitimate chances to pick a shot up on. So if we shoot a -12 and we picked up those 5, that's -17. That's like the absolute perfect round. I think in most cases, if you're shooting a -14, leaking towards the -15, like in the weekend round, I think it's going to be very similar to the tournament we just got done playing, where like 28 is a super decent score, and in most cases 28 will probably win you a banner. But if you can shoot 30, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a win. You're not guaranteeing yourself a win, but if you shoot a 30 and you don't get a win, you got beat. So I think it's going to be very similar to the last tournament. All right, let's see how long that took. Damn, it took 48 minutes. All right. Sorry about that. These holes have been around for a long time, and there's a lot of different ways to look at them and a lot of different stuff. So once I'll go through and watch the videos myself, and I write down what clubs, and then I'll play some Tour 2. I like playing Tour 2 because these holes, there's a lot of holes in here that you can practice with your short iron, and there's a lot of fun that you can have down here, and we can play friendly, so you can go out and play with your buddies and do the deal. So we should have a lot of fun this week. All right, so I will keep putting out some stuff for the 9-hole cup, the Easter 9-hole cup, and I will, as soon as we're done with it, I'll start putting out some stuff for Santa Ventura. Thanks for watching.